we are going to air my interview with Alex Volkanovski, which was taped after the Super Bowl about 12 hours ago. So, not that much has happened since then, other than us going to bed and waking up. 12 or so hours ago, after the Super Bowl, Alex was kind enough to come on and give us his first interview. Since then, the Dan Hooker tweets have happened. But as you'll see in this interview, which was conducted before the Hooker tweets, he brings up the IV, unprompted, on his own. I had no idea that was a thing. And then I wake up to the Hooker tweets. So it's a fascinating look at a man who, fell short, is crushed, handling it the right way. You'll hear what he wants. You'll hear who he's going after. You'll hear how he's feeling after the fight of his life on Saturday night or Sunday morning in Perth. So without further ado, my conversation with Alex the Great Volkanovski, the reigning defending UFC featherweight champion, conducted late last night after the Super Bowl, about 12 or so hours ago, to talk about what transpired at UFC 284. All right, we're being joined now by the reigning defending UFC featherweight champion, one half of the main event on Saturday night, Sunday in Australia, UFC 284. What a performance. Oh, so impressive. Came oh so close to becoming the double champ. Of course, you know this man, Alex the Great Volkanovski, kind enough to join us here to talk about it all. Alex, my friend, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it, and congratulations on an incredible performance. I know you don't want to hear the congratulations on the great performance, but congratulations nonetheless.
Yeah, I guess I appreciate that. Obviously that's what everyone's doing. Everyone's like congratulating, and they're trying to be all positive about it, which I appreciate. But at the same time, obviously I wanted to go out there and absolutely dominate and get my hand raised. You know what I mean? So obviously I'm going to be disappointed, but at least everyone's buzzing over it.
You've had a chance to sleep on it now. I think you've watched it at least once because I saw your tweet. How do you feel? Because you kept saying in the post-fight press conference, I got to rewatch it. I got to rewatch it. So now that you've had a chance to sleep on it, digest it, but also rewatch it, how do you feel about the fight?
Yeah, like obviously, because it's funny when you're in the fight, like the way we are as well. Most corners should be like this. A lot of corners aren't. We're the type of corners to be like, we don't know how they judge this, so we don't want to. You're not going to tell your student, or I'm not going to sit there and think, I definitely got that round. I can't go into rounds thinking like that. So I knew that there was a couple of rounds that were close and not good enough to sit there and say they were definitely ours. So again, at the end, we were comfortable. We thought we did enough, but didn't get a hand raise, which we're disappointed. But obviously, crowd didn't like it, and I wanted to watch it. And after watching it back, pretty confident and comfortable saying, I'm not the type of guy to do this as well. Like, I'm not a sore loser or anything like that. That's why I try to be as respectful as I can, even though I thought I won. But yeah, I'm pretty confident and comfortable to say that, I thought I won the second, third, and obviously the fifth round. But it was definitely a close fight. But yeah, a bit upset I didn't get my hand raised.
So, it's interesting. I actually think you have a strong case for the fourth round, because if you watch the fourth round, he had your back, but you're constantly punishing him and punching him and damaging him, which is the number one, criteria. But yet you think it was the second round, because to me it's down to the second and the fourth, right? It seems like everyone is pretty much, on the same page for the first, for the fifth, for the third, second or fourth up in the air. You think you have a stronger case for the second than the fourth?
Yeah. Well, I think so. Look, the fourth, obviously, you're right. Like, it's like he wasn't even trying to get there. I think he knew he couldn't choke me or submit me. So he wasn't even going. It was just purely, because he was obviously tired by that stage and just hanging on. And I don't mean this in any disrespect, but that's what it was, you know what I mean? That's what I was just saying. I'm going, no, you're just hanging on now, eh? So that's why I started, revving the crowd up and punching him in the head. But you're right, I probably was doing more damage, but at the same time, he's got a body lock on me, even though I was never really threatened while that was happening. Yeah, I guess it's a tricky one. It depends how you look at it, the judging criteria and that as well. But at the same time, I'm in a bad position, and it should be up to me to get myself out of there. So, I won't sit there and say the fourth round after being in a body triangle, I should have went my way. So, I should have got out of there and done something. So I'll leave it at
that. Taking a step back from the fight for a moment, the full week in Perth, the love that you were receiving, the weigh-ins, the walk, everything leading up to it. you had been talking for a long time, like, I want that moment as a champion to fight back home, right? So many others had gotten it. You didn't because of the pandemic. Was it greater than you thought it would be? Did it exceed your expectations? Because it really felt from this vantage point like you were coming across like a superstar, like you were coming across
Yeah.
like a national hero. Was it like that for you?
Oh, it was, mate. It was an incredible week. The support was unreal. Every day, open workouts, press conference, weigh-ins, everything was just people everywhere. Like, it went beyond the expectations. I think for the UFC and everyone, because everything they set up, there wasn't enough room for the people. Like, no matter what they did. So it was, yeah, obviously it was unreal. It was a great way to come back to Australia, and you know what I mean. It was a big moment, and we thought we were going to have our huge moment, but the judges somehow saw it a different way. So yeah,
We get
took
to the
my massive moment away from me.
No,
Them
but
bastards.
isn't it a weird thing? Like, I feel, correct me if you feel otherwise, despite not getting the win and the belt, I feel like you are more popular now than you ever were. I feel like more people like you, more people. Little Wayne is tweeting about you, saying he's going to boycott the UFC because you were robbed. Like, everyone's talking about you now. It's a weird thing. You didn't lose for 10 years. You're undefeated in the UFC. You're making these title fights look easy at this point, and yet people feel stronger about you and an emotional attachment towards you more so now after a loss than ever before. Do you feel that as well?
Yeah, I definitely do feel that. Again, like I think you start getting people's respect of just for even taking on this fight. There was either people fully respect me for doing it, because we always knew it was me moving up against a bigger, stronger guy that's meant to be the worst matchup for everyone in that division. You know what I mean? There's not many people that are going to move up and then want to go champ against someone like that. So obviously, a lot of people were already like, "Oh yeah, he's either this guy man's crazy," and not just that. Like, or they were sitting there saying he doesn't stand a chance and all that. So they were either going, "Oh, what a legend for even doing this," or "Oh, he's going to get submitted in one round." Rah, rah, rah. And then obviously the way it went, people were like, "Wow," blown away by it. So, but I mean, again, for me, it's different. I was expecting to go out there and dominate, and that. But I mean, I think that's why a lot of people, yeah, obviously respect what I was trying to do. And a lot of them thought I had that moment too. Like a lot of them thought that I won, and it didn't go that way. But you're right. I think it's definitely massive for me, this one.
After the first round ended with him, going for the sub, but you fighting him off and even like kind of smiling at the end, did you feel as though, all right, I lost this round quite clearly, but my
First
confidence,
round?
like, yeah, the first round, after the
Yeah.
first round ended, like to me, it was like, all right, yes, on the judges' scorecard, you may have lost it, but for confidence, I was wondering if you were walking away from that final sequence at the end, feeling like, oh, that I could hang with this guy on the ground. Like, this is what you were all talking about. Did you feel like, all right,
Yeah.
it's all good, no problem. I just took his best shot, so to speak. I felt him on the ground. I can hang with this guy. Because that was the big question going to this, his strength on the ground.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. It was like that. It was like that. But oh, sorry, I just got the family coming in.
No problem, no problem.
Yeah. It was like that, definitely. So I ended up. He had there, and then like pretty much felt like I didn't have much there. Obviously, I've been put in much worse positions during camp and things like that. But yeah, it was a moment where I was telling myself like, oh man, like even I was saying to the corner before he even got my back, I'm like, God, he's not even that strong. But then I was still giving him the benefit of the doubt. I was like, maybe he's baiting me for something, and I still showed him a little too much respect, I think, and I didn't back myself enough in them areas where I think. Like towards the end, I was just like, stuff this. I'm just gonna, if he wants to wrestle, I'll just bowl him over and turn him over. And that's exactly what started happening. Where I think I played that a little bit too safe earlier, but I mean, I was going through them moments where I was like, oh yeah, I'm sweet here, and then I was just boosting up the crowd and stuff like that. But again, I think I could have done a little more in some of them situations, which obviously, again, I'm the type of guy. That's just how I am.
Right.
I'm my hardest critic. I always am, always will be. So for me, straight after the fight, I was like, man, let's do the 5 rounds again. You know what I mean? Like this will be a whitewash these next 5 rounds if I was able to do that again. But yeah, it was yeah. You're right, 100%. I was going no, this is nothing. So I started realizing, especially towards the end, that he didn't really have much for me. I thought he'd shoot more and all that type of stuff, which kept me a little more hesitant on the feet. Which I was still trying to play my game, but I could have done a lot more.
Any point while you're on the ground with him where you're getting worried? I just keep thinking about that, like that body triangle that can't be comfortable for around 2 minutes to have that guy, just like locked on you. Is there any point where you're starting to feel a little bit worried or no? You don't seem worried,
What
but
you
I'm just
mean?
wondering. I don't know. Like, oh
What you
man.
mean? Taking my breath away with his
Yeah,
legs or
yeah,
something?
yeah. Yeah.
Nah, no, I didn't get that at all. His legs
Okay.
would have been gassing because he was hanging on for dear life.
That's true. That is true.
Well, that's what I was saying to him because again, I don't want to be disrespectful about it, but I mean, I was obviously trying to hype up the crowd, but I mean, it was just funny. Like, I mean, obviously we tweeted here and there, and he'd be like going after 15 seconds, and saying that I'll be crumbling, going to sleep, and all this. I'm like, going, you said you'll finish me. I
That's
was
what you were
saying,
saying?
I was saying a few things. Yeah, I was just going, oh, is this all you got? You're just trying to survive. You know what I mean? Just hanging on for dear life. Come on, you little bitch. And I'm like,
Was he
just
saying stuff
again,
back?
revving the crowd out. Yeah, he was, but not really. He was just trying to get his breath back and just hang on. So
Right.
I'll try and do that. Like, it was like he wasn't even trying to go for the finish. It was just literally like, hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on. Let's get through this round. Which obviously I can see him crumbling, but at the same time, I'm in a bad position. You know what I mean? But I mean, but I'm feeling him crumbling, and I'm like, that's why I'm just going, look at you, just trying to survive. You said you'll finish me. You're not even trying to go for the finish. You know what I mean? Just stuff like that. Obviously, again, trying to get in his head, trying to rev up the crowd and just have a bit of fun with it. Not trying to be disrespectful, you
No,
know
of
what I mean?
course
But
not. The people
whether it
loved
comes
it.
across that way, I don't know. Oh, good. I did.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The crowd loved it. Just curious, how much do you think you weighed in there?
I ended up weighing myself, I think I was like 76, 77 kilograms. So just maybe 170 or just under 170.
Okay, and what do you think he weighed?
Um, what would 81 kilograms be?
Let's see. 81 kg to pounds is
I want to say that it
178.
was. Hey?
178 or so.
Yeah, 178 to 180, I think he would have been. I've heard he gets up to like, 180, like 83 kilograms close to. So could be, huh? Yeah, like, you fill up pretty quick, on the IVs and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay. Are you allowed to do that? I don't know. Is that allowed?
Yeah, maybe that's a little shot at him, but, he
Okay.
whispers. But anyway, move
It's
on.
it initially as the fight is starting, it's jarring to see you guys together. He is much taller than you. Is there ever a point where you're like, oh, this is the lightweight division? Like, did you feel like a featherweight fighting a lightweight, or did you feel like I could be here?
Oh, man, like, of course I felt I could be there. In positions, I probably felt stronger than him. You
Wow.
know what I mean? Again, like I said, there was times where, just probably probably didn't back myself enough, and again, I gave him a little bit too much respect. You know what I mean? Like, there was times where I felt like I probably could have even got takedowns of my own, more takedowns if I wanted. But sometimes I just try and get him off balance and then, off the brakes, punch and stuff like that. But I mean, every time we're in like sort of 50-50 positions, I felt like I could do whatever I wanted there. So that's what I mean. Like, it was funny when people were trying to tell me, like, oh, these low weight divisions different. I was like, yeah, we'll see. Again, he got me down. He got me like in certain positions, but I was never in danger, and I knew I'd bounce back up. And again, some of the positions he just got, and I was like, so he would like hang on, and I couldn't get out. But I mean, if he did get to them, I'd bounce straight back up, sometimes end up on top of him, turn him, whatever. But again, it was a power and lightweight division was never going to be a problem when it comes to strength. I tried telling people that I train with guys much bigger and stronger than him. You know what I mean? As well, like, I train with welterweights. I train with middleweights sometimes. My main training partner do grappling and all that. Like with Craig Jones and things like that, we're bringing in guys that are always going to be 83 to 85 kilograms. You know what I mean? They're always going to be much bigger than me. So people saying that size and strength was going to be a problem. It's like, man, I don't know. It makes me surprised that I think all these people just train with people smaller than them or just their size. That's not how I roll. That's not how I've ever rolled. I've always trained with people bigger than me because I guess I need to.
I couldn't believe how big of an underdog you were. I couldn't believe how many people were just completely dismissing you. Did you take that stuff in and did it bother you? Did you use it as motivation? Did you listen to any of it? I found it shocking. Here's the number one pound for pound fighter on the planet being just dismissed like some guy who has no business being like you were. I saw some
I
plus
didn't look, man. I was
300.
playing. I was
It's
pretty.
crazy.
Yeah. Well, that is crazy. But I mean, I was happy to push. That there was a narrative that was going right. It was too big. Um, he's going to be too strong and all this type of stuff. I was just, all right, I'll go along with it. Fine. That just makes my victory bigger when I get it. You know what I mean? And more embarrassing for him and stuff like that. Which could have been a really, really big moment if obviously the judges did get it right, as I think. But what do? You know what I mean? Like again, I could have told you, he's only human. I could, tell you things that I think I could do, show you situations and details and stuff like that, stuff that we study, and I could tell you that he's human. But I thought, all right, I'll just wait till the day to show you that he's human.
In the fourth round, when he got that takedown, the commentary team said, I don't know if you heard this, a momentary lapse of judgment that led to the takedown, that maybe you were talking to his corner and that led to the...
Yeah.
Did that happen? Do you agree with that assessment?
Yeah. I was being cheeky.
What were you doing?
So, he's just going there, and I'm just looking at his corner. I'm like, I'm up. Like, I don't know if they're going, yeah, look, they're saying something. Going, nah, I'm up. What are you talking about? So I started going up, and then he's just jumped and then got the hooks in. I just I even laughed, as in, that was silly. You're just you're gloating too much. Again, I'll do that type of stuff to get in the head and all that, but yeah, that got him that position. Again. So that was a little mistake by me. I could have bounced up and put it on him because obviously he was very tired at that stage. That's why he just wanted to hold on. Which again, as if you're tired and all that, if you're in a good position, you should. So I'm not going to, not going to run his name through the dirt for doing that. You've got to try and win, and especially when things are starting to turn and not go your way, you're going to do what you can, and that's what he's doing. This is a sport and a competitive sport. But yeah, that's why I was just into him while he had that body triangle and just punching him head, just going, look at you, eh? I'm going to be a walk in the park. You're going to, strangle me. You know what I mean? You're putting me in the deep waters. Now you're just trying to survive. You talk about deep waters. You're just hanging on to that lifeboat, hanging on to that, what do you call them, little donuts, life-saving donuts, hanging up, getting your hair out of the water, you know what I mean? Hanging for dear life while I'm sitting there calling you a little bitch, you know what I mean?
Incredible.
Just having a bit of fun. Again, I wasn't trying to be, I think it was just in the moment.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's cool.
How much more time do you think you needed in the fifth round to finish him? You think an extra minute?
Done. Yeah, he was done. Like I told you, not much longer. Well, I could have went another 5 rounds, you know what I mean? But yeah, not much longer. It was obvious that he was done. You know what I mean? And yeah, what do you do? Like obviously rocked him, dropped him with that punch, jumped on top, started landing some shots. And again, he was just trying to hang on. But even when he was just trying to hang on, he couldn't. Started landing some shots, and the time just got away from me.
I don't know if you were a big Pride day, but if this was a Pride fight with Pride rules, you win that fight easily, because they used to judge the fight on the whole, and usually the guy who ends strong. So if I don't know if you could take any solace in that, but
I mean, like at the end of the day, this isn't that. We've got a criteria, and this is the way I train for. So I'm not gonna talk about I would have won if it was these rules. I thought I won even with the rule set that we have. You know what I mean? A lot of people did. Yeah, I'm not the only one that thinks that. Again, after the fight, I was like, okay, it was close. I thought I had it, but all right, whatever. The crowd is going nuts, and I'm like, going, all right, yeah, I guess fair play, but I mean, let's give him his moment. Let's not be too harsh about it. I was trying to calm him down.
Right.
I watched the fight. Then watched the fight, and I was like, okay, I guess you could imagine what the Aussie crowds are thinking when they obviously clearly thought I won, and then that happened, and then in Australia with that crowd, of course, they're going to be screaming the house down and booing and stuff like that. So I guess you can't blame them.
How would you describe your mood when you watch that? Like when you rewatch it and you think you won, you feel like you were robbed of a moment of history. Are you mad right now? Are you
that's what hurts a bit too, right? Like it was a massive moment. The whole week it was setting up for something massive, and we pretty much did it. You know what I mean? Finished that fight like that. You know what I mean? And then that could have been just the perfect ending to the story if the judges just got it right. You know what I mean? In Australia too, and I think that actually the judges that weren't here. I mean, yeah, the judges are flown in, so they're not Aussie judges. But I mean, with the crowd and all that, you're thinking even though you watch it without the crowd and all that, we're confident we got them rounds. And then you got the crowd and all that atmosphere and all that. You're like, oh man, how could they get this wrong? But anyway. I can't keep talking because we were watching it. So we're watching the second round. That was the round that we're like, oh, we'll see. So we're watching it yesterday, and we're like, all right, we're definitely winning this right now. We're still winning this. Maybe something happens. Or he gets a takedown. I bounce straight back up. Oh, we're still winning. Maybe something. And we're like, and then, we're like, fuck. Like, how'd they get that round? All right. And then third round, again, a close one, but we're going, winning. We're like, and then, obviously the first and fourth. And then obviously what happened in the fifth. But,
Right.
yeah. But again, I don't know. I don't want to sound like a little sourpuss.
Who's the number one pound for pound fighter in the world right now?
A lot of people thought I won that fight. I thought I won that fight, and I moved up. We talk about pound for pound. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if we were the same size. Imagine if we were the same weight class. Imagine if he was a featherweight. Yeah, I don't want to sound like I don't want to be that guy. I don't
It's a crazy thing, though. It's a crazy thing because
I don't want to be that guy. But if he was just a featherweight in my division, I squash him. And it's a walk in the park. And no offense to him, but that's legit. And like, I could make this a walk in the park right now. We fight again, and like we do this rematch, which we talked about. I talked about it. Islam talked about it. UFC's talking about it, and everyone else is talking about it. So I think we can make that happen. I don't need him to be a featherweight. Like, he can be a welterweight. He can go fight wherever we fight. He can get as big as he wants with IVs and whatever he does. It doesn't matter. You watch what happens next time.
So if it was up to you
pound
right
for
now,
pound, again, like there's a lot of again, I don't want to be that guy, but I think I still prove that I'm the better fighter and I'm pound for pound number one, but that's not up to me.
if it was up to you right now, UFC calls your team, what you want is a rematch right away.
Yeah, 100%.
And when you say we spoke about it, but he spoke about, what do you mean by that? Like, already have you already told the brass?
Well, he's already talked to the press or talked to the media that he's happy to do. I think, like, I got told that he was talking to that. Was it? He went back to his corner because before they announced, that was it. Before they announced who the winner was, obviously, it was a close fight. I think he thought he might have lost. So he was like even saying we need to do a rematch to his corner when he went back. So back to his corner, right? Because he thought, I think I've lost. He didn't say he lost, but I mean, he thought like we need to do the rematch, thinking that I was going to get my hand raised. And then he ended up telling people in the media backstage that he wants a rematch anyway. So he knows that. Again, I'm not taking away. It was a close fight. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah.
So have you guys told the UFC this? Do you know if the UFC is open to doing this right away?
Well, we haven't had the proper conversation. I talked to Islam, got a photo with him afterwards. We're with his team, and we're like, rematch, eh? He's like, yeah, of course. Yeah. And they're saying, a few people, mate, we're talking about Hunter mentioned it. A few of the guys are like, it's got to happen. Like, it's a massive fight. Like, let's be real. Did the pound for pound number one really get settled? I mean, I think a lot of people would still consider me pound for pound number one. Like,
yes.
I don't want to be that guy, right?
You could be that. By the way, he just for the record, he's being that guy. He mentioned multiple times, "I'm the best in the world. I'm the best in the world now. I'm the best in the world." And so, what's wild to me is I've always believed, you lose to this guy, you have to be ranked below. But in this case, I feel like your stock is higher than his because of that performance, regardless of the judges' scorecard.
We're talking about pound for pound rankings too.
Yes.
Right? So let's be realistic. Like, there's a good chance with different judges and that, like, my hand definitely gets raised. Like, there's a situation where, again, I'm not trying to say it's a massive robbery, the worst robbery in the world. I'm not trying to say that. But, it's like, you could definitely see that I won the fight. Could have been a draw, you know what I mean? Like, it's that type of fight, right?
Right.
And here I am, one stepping up. Here I am, the one undersized. Here I am, one fighting the guy that's a bad matchup for me. You know what I mean? I've proven myself. Look who I've proven myself to. Look at my fights. Look at my history. Look at my resume. You know what I mean? And then that fight happens, where we're expecting to get a hand raise, it doesn't, and then obviously it's going to hurt. Like, that pound for pound number one spot gets taken away from me. After that, I'm going to sit there and be like, man, this is a crazy world we live in.
You think he wants to do it again, considering how this fight went, considering how tough you were? You think deep down he would be down to do this again?
I think it depends on him. Obviously he knows it's going to be a tough one. Obviously he knows I'm a lot stronger now. maybe he's going to be like, oh, I need to do more, maybe. But he knows that this is going to leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. I've been there before. I know what it feels like.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And he's going to want to prove. So he was going to want to prove it to people. I would if I was in his position. I wouldn't be happy with that. Like I said, he wanted the rematch because he thought that my hand was going to get raised. Like I heard a couple of people come and see that. Like they heard him say that to his corner before the decision was made. So yeah, if he doesn't, we know why.
Mm. How soon? Like in a perfect world, we saw you do the quick turnaround after the zombie fight, right? You went from April to July. Like realistically, they're booked up until April, right? Izzy's fighting on the April card. So like realistically, like you could fight in May if you wanted to. That would be 3 months.
I
That would be
would
the
have done
same
it.
thing.
I would have done the next 5 rounds straight after. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on the night.
You think he could have done that?
But no, there's no way. We see where that fight was going. But anyway, yeah, whenever. I told you I want to be active. Let's go.
Does your next fight have to be in Australia? I mean, it seems too
No,
good to no.
no, it doesn't have to be in Australia. I will fight in Australia again this year. That's sure. They're thinking of bringing it back. And I'm definitely want to be on that card, but I want to fight somewhere as soon
Okay.
as possible.
By the way, did you see that clip of when they went and showed the front row and Izzy's there and Ash, your manager, is there and Izzy's crying and everyone's going nuts at the end of the fight? When you see that, if you did see that, what does that feel like for you to see, Izzy
I
crying, to see
didn't
your manager crying?
I didn't see it like till after, but yeah, like you know what I mean. Like you got to think about that. That's you know, it means a lot to me. Like that's how we all are. Like we're very very close. So like and seeing this sort of being a part of this, and we're all a part of this big journey together. So obviously it's awesome to see that. Awesome to see how much they care and things like that. But you got to understand how everyone in that arena, right? They're going crazy. Everyone in that arena, like I was telling you about this moment that it was coming to be this massive moment all week and all this bang bang, and in everyone's eyes in that arena, we did it. You know what I mean? What? Like last 6 months, he's done it. Like you know what I mean? To fight all these odds, the underdog, blah blah blah. The moment we've been waiting for, it's here, and then his own hand gets raised, and they're like, "What?" You know what I mean? Like it's. So it was a very, very hard pill to swallow for everyone in that arena.
Mm. And I was asking people beforehand, where would this rank among like the great Australian sports moments if you could do it? Because I have felt, you tell me if you feel otherwise, you don't get the attention, the coverage, the respect that other Australian athletes do. And you probably won't even, argue this point with me because you're not that guy, but it just I see the tennis players get the love. I see the other athletes get the love. Do you feel after this week that you are going to start to be covered and respected like the other major Australian athletes, or is it still cage fighting to them? Is it still never going to quite be
Yeah,
mainstream?
it depends how you look at it. Obviously, the people in Australia know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The backing I get from Australia, the people, yeah. And then you're talking about, we go into all the other stuff. It's a different story. You know what I mean? They're gonna, mate. Let's be real. They got no choice but to jump on board. They're going to be fools to not jump on board. Like, how can you not? Like, look at the money that they made in this city. They had like over 60% of people travel from out of state to come here. The amount of money was the biggest, highest gross arena gate. You name it. We smashed every arena record in Australia. Pay-per-views, you name it, all of them. You know what I mean? And yeah. So there you go. I'm just getting a confirmation that the pay-per-view is biggest pay-per-view ever in Australia, New Zealand, history, all that type of
Wow.
stuff. Everything, smashed everything. How can they not jump on board? Like, you know what I mean? And then especially when they didn't have to fly in some massive champions from overseas. They got their own Australian athlete coming to do it on home soil, crushing all these numbers, history-making fight. It's disappointing that they're not on board right now. But, I mean, they're going to have to eventually, and they're going to be fools if they don't.
If the UFC says to you, okay, we're going to do the rematch down the line, but we first want you to settle this situation at 45 because we have an interim champion, will you be disappointed, Will you feel deflated if that's the
Oh,
move
look,
that they
man,
want?
I've got to talk to my team. Well, I mean, what's the point of the interim anyway? Then, you know what I mean? Like, isn't the interim like, yeah, you can we can let's talk about this because I don't know.
Okay.
Um, Obviously, if I was the if I was a champion, I did do this lightweight thing. That's why we're doing the interim as well, right? Because we don't want to hold divisions up. So then he's going to be the guy looking after that while I'm gone and all this type of stuff. So does it? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So I don't feel like he can hold that, the flag, whatever you want to say. He can hold that till I'm there.
Okay.
If I need to settle this beef and all that type of stuff. So I need to talk to the team, see what's next. But even whatever decision we make is going to be more than okay. Like, there's no reason why this has to happen right now, especially when that's just not how interim works. Otherwise,
Right.
I would have just made him fight for number one contender or whatever. Like, they would put a interim up for, you know what I mean, up for grabs and things like that. You know what I mean?
So you'd be okay if he has to go and defend it once or twice. No problem. That's no issue for
If
you.
who?
If Yair goes and defends, usually the interim title isn't defended. I think it was just Henan Barral, maybe one other in the history of the interim title that actually went and defended the interim title while there was an actual champion. This wouldn't bother you. In fact, it sounds like you'd be okay with it. You would want this. You go
Oh
fight
yeah.
Islam again.
Well,
He
like
goes and
that's the discussions you have to have, right? Like, you got to
yeah.
remember, it was never my intentions to hold divisions, and the UFC's intention to hold divisions. So, like, when I told them that I want this lightweight fight, I wanted that, blah blah blah. They're like, "Look, we're going to have to do something with featherweight. Like, we can't just leave them there. We've got contenders and all that. We need to keep that running." I'm like, "That's fair." And I'm okay with it. So that's the whole point, right? It was the whole point was to let them do what they got to do, um, while I do this lightweight thing as well. You know what I mean? So that
Right.
was the compensation. So
I know you said you were warming up when he fought. Just curious, now that you've rewatched your fight, did you watch his fight at all?
not all of it. I haven't properly watched it.
Okay.
We'll do studies and stuff like that when needed. But
What you
yeah, man,
saw, were
like,
you
he looked
impressed?
good from what I
Yeah.
seen. From what I seen, yeah, looked sharp. Like, again, I was expecting that. I thought, Josh had to really mix it up, get the takedowns, but he ended up getting caught with the triangle there. Yeah. He's a very crafty. Obviously on the feet and very crafty everywhere.
Any chance, considering your
It's
success?
exciting. It's exciting because he's an exciting fighter. He's
Yeah.
built that up too. So yeah, I'm excited. I like that.
And now there's a guy. Now there's a guy, which is what you've
There's a
wanted.
guy. There
There's
we
a
go.
guy.
Yeah.
By the way, any chance, considering your success, you say to hell with 45? Life is better as a 55er. I don't have to cut as much weight. This could be my new home. Like, is that a possibility?
Is that a possibility?
Yeah.
I just don't think the one division can keep me busy enough, though. That's what I told you. Is that, you know what I mean? I don't know. Yeah, actually, you know what? There is a line. I don't. Yeah, I don't think it can keep me busy enough. And again, I wanted to keep a promise. You know what I mean? And that's to keep two divisions busy. And I would be doing that right now if anyway.
Eh. By the way, you keep saying I have to talk to the team. I don't believe for a second that you guys haven't talked about this. It's been 24 hours since the fight. You guys have been talking about it all night, probably.
Well, I mean, talk to the team in the UFC and have them proper conversations too, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, but
Yeah.
but this is what you want. It's very clear. You think you won. You want the rematch. You're hopeful that the UFC is okay with this, that they're on board with this, and you're hopeful that Islam is on board with this. You think in the next few months we could see this
Islam,
again?
yeah, I made him. We said it on film. Like,
Oh, okay.
it's out there.
You got the
It's out
verbal.
there.
Okay.
The cameras are on. Don't worry, the cameras are rolling.
Okay.
Um, whether he liked that or not, the cameras are rolling where he locked it in. So yeah, again. So like he said it again. Like, man, like, if he's anything like me, if I was in that situation, I need to do it again. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm sure that's how he is. Like, he's a competitive dude, and you know what I mean. Like, especially when there's going to be this stain and people are. You got to remember, like, I've been in that position before. It doesn't feel good. You know what I mean? Like, you just want to silence the doubters, prove them all wrong. And I'm surely he's in that position. So he's gonna want to do something about it. And the only way to do that is to face me again, do the rematch.
Last thing, it's been 10 years since you suffered a loss. Now this one different than the other one back when you were fighting as a welterweight. But just this feeling, even though you don't view it as a loss, what is it like for you? It's such a foreign feeling for you. you've been so successful in the UFC. You've never felt this before. How are you dealing with it? Because you seem like the ultimate competitor. You're a gamer. Like, how is this sitting with you inside?
Ah, look, man, I'm just good. I'm the type of guy that I'm gonna be all right. You know what I mean? I'm gonna deal with things how I need to, but it sucks. It obviously sucks. It obviously hurts. What could be, right? That moment that I was talking about. Um, yeah, it was there. It was, you know what I mean? It was a crazy fight, very competitive. I think that adds to the story. The fact that I was in bad positions adds to the story. I even talked about this. The perfect way would be us having back and forth. Get me in these submissions so I can get out and just show you, you know what I mean? Even get taken so I can bounce back up. Like I was even saying like this sort of stuff, that would be like the perfect, the crowd going, you should have heard it in there. It was insane. It
Yeah.
was crazy in there. And then especially right there when everyone just see me take over, because it was obviously everyone knows, like, man, it's up to this last round. That's how everyone's going into this last round. So it's a big moment already. Bang, and next minute I'm on top punching his head through the canvas. And the crowd's just going nuts. Crowd, like the horn goes, we're like, yeah, we did it. Like there's that moment, you know what I mean? And that it was roaring, and then they announce it. And then it just changes to booze. Like that was just meant to roll on and just be a a great Australian sporting history moment that got taken away from me.
Well, hopefully you get a chance to rewrite that wrong, so to speak. I do find there to be a great irony for someone who, initially with the Max Holloway stuff, the fans were like, who's this guy? Now you're getting more respect, more love than ever before. It's amazing how that works. Sometimes in a loss, especially when you handle it the right way, a loss, quote unquote, it can make you infinitely more popular.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing. So maybe that's one silver lining to
You
all
know
this.
why? So actions speak louder than words, man. You know what I mean? I'm being me through the whole process. People can relate to that. It might not fast track you. You might not do all that type of shit, but people will respect you. People will relate to you. And then you just show them, action. Go out there and do what you got to do, and write your own crazy story. And I feel like I'm doing that, and it doesn't end here.
Much respect. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it very much. Congrats on a great performance. I hope you get that rematch.
Thank you, my man. Appreciate it.
So there you go. Alex Volkanovski, the reigning defending UFC featherweight champion, came oh so close to becoming the double champ, just the fifth in UFC history. That was a little over 12 hours ago. And a lot of things to take away from that. I love the ending. You know why? Because actions speak louder than words. What a G. What a guy. How could you not love him?